And sometimes I don't know how to greet you guys, but I always like to let people know where I am. I am in the beautiful islands of the Philippines, and I was corrected last week. This place has what? 7,000 plus islands, okay? And I live on a small little portion of those. I am really excited this week. I have some amazing experiences this week. If you ask me to put this week in one word, it would just be adrenaline rush. That's even two words, right? But yeah, adrenaline rush is the two words I would use to summarize this week. This week, it's all about weather, and more weather, and tons of requests. And yeah, I survived, and it's an amazing experience to be able to share these videos with you guys. Can you believe it? This is episode 12. I had to use a calculator. That means we've been going now for 3 months. Wow. So praise the Lord. He keeps the airplane going, he keeps me going, and he keeps you enjoying these videos. And again, we cannot overemphasize, if you love these videos, give a thumbs up, leave a comment below so I know where you are watching from, how you're benefiting from the videos, and you can always share them with family and friends and those that you think can benefit from these videos. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Um, Sunday, the week started out beautiful week where I had three returning patients and one watcher. So this is a Sunday morning and it's the beginning of weather. I took off, had a little rain that was falling, but still VFR. And I got on top of everything and just enjoy a beautiful day flying. You couldn't see much underneath you based on the direction of flight, but it was just an amazing experience to get out. I remember when I, came to like 10 miles on the approach, and these seniors saw the nice runway, looking back at the rain that we passed. They were just so amazed by the experience, basically, of flying, so I was able to drop them off. They're returning patients, and I always like returning patients because it means that they have gone to the hospital, they got their checkups, they got their medicine, and now it's time for them to go back home. So praise the Lord for that. The team from last episode that went to collect the blood from the coastal area, it was time to bring them back home. And again, weather had its challenges, but we had small window of opportunity to bypass the rain and get them out. And this was the first group, so it was a total of 6 of them. This was the first group, and they arrived safely. After dropping them off, I had to wait for the rain to pass before I could depart to help the rest of the team. So it's a blessing to help these young people. I like flying with them because, they're filled with energy. They're not just the terrified old people sitting there, what, oh, they're the young people filled with energy and excited to fly. When I went back to get the rest of the group that did the collection of blood donations, this pregnant lady came up, and as a result, they decided to wait for later on, which was a risk because there's no guarantee the weather would hold. But it was a blessing to know that those health workers were willing to prioritize this pregnant lady so that she can be transported instead. So I had two patient here. Well, one patient, a watcher, and the young lady in the middle is a stranded student that needed to go out to meet some requirements for her school. So I picked them up, I dropped them off safely, and we hope that this lady can give birth to a bouncing baby boy. But most likely it's a girl. Most of the baby mothers I transport, it's always girls. After I dropped those off, I had another missions here where this is a returning patient. Basically, she was able to get some help for her kid. That's the one in the red holding the little baby there. I was able to transport them. And this is Kaap personnel with her grandson that tagged along on the trip to get back home. This is the other three workers, Mam Weng in the middle. She's one of my government contact that I work very closely with. If I ever get stuck or in any need of any help, this is the lady that I call. From a place to sleep, a vehicle to pick me up, you know, you name it, I will call her. If I get stuck at a checkpoint, I'll give her a call. And that's her med tech and a stranded student that needed to get out. So I was able to successfully get the whole team of medical personnel out. I was corrected last week. It's not 80 units, but it's actually 50 units of blood that was donated from people in the coastal area that will go to the hospital close to our air base to help individuals who come from those areas to have blood whenever they need for surgery and other health reasons. Um, the requests, weather kicked in at one point. We couldn't fly one particular day. And the requests, they were piling up. One was a cancer patient needed to go home. And then we had a bunch of frontliners. A total of 13 people were lined up asking for flights. And it's usually over the waters. It's a little longer than usual. So I remember Cap Dwayne here told me, he said, you know, I'm willing to help you with one of those flights. So we were able to put round trip 8 people in the twin, round trip for me 5 people, and then I continued with my other rounds as well. So it was a blessing to do a team flight where we're on the radio. And as a result of this team flight, you know, his airplane, if you guys can see it closer, it has 2 engines, but each engine only gives out 160 horsepower. I have one engine, but mine has 230 horsepower. We landed within a 10-minute difference. And I remember even with the first landing, he gave me a head start and he passed me along the way for sure. But I had to like slow my airplane down and give him time to get off the runway. So we were really close. And as a result of this team flight, I now really appreciate my sweet little single engine 230 horsepower, because I thought something with 2 engine like this case would be way faster, but the time difference was close, but he can carry 5 people. I can only bring maximum 4. So, you know, it has its pros and cons when you compare both, but it was a blessing that I could fly with the director in his airplane, and we help a lot of frontliners and patients that particular day, 13 of them to be exact. And that's just a photo I took of his group of frontliners exiting the plane. The one in the blue, she's a nurse. She was a little afraid to fly, but I showed her some pictures that, don't worry, when you get up there, it's so beautiful and nice. These were the frontliners that I transported on my airplane to get them into that little place called Batanes. It's usually a flight over water, and yeah, it can be a little scary for a lot of people just looking out over water. But for me, I enjoy flying over the water because it has less turbulence. When I fly over terrains, mountain, etc., land, it's very bumpy. But they're really happy. This was the 2 that came back with me. So these 3, I brought them in, and then on my way out, I had these 2 frontliners going with me. You know, the mission continues with those who are sick. I had some supplies for Pastor, but these are 2 returning passengers trying to get back home, and I brought them with their luggages and stuff, and individual stuff for Pastor Melky as well. That's Pastor Melky, my contact there in Palanan. And this was the same day that I did that long flight over the water. After that, I picked up these 2 passengers and took them in. Then, purpose of going to that area was to get this patient. Basically, she is basically dehydrated, as you can see, very weak. She got off the IV for the flight, and that's her watcher. I don't know if that's her mom, but that's the assistant with her. And I just looking at her, you can tell she's in a lot of pain and discomfort. But nonetheless, we show up to give a ray of hope so that she can be transported to another place that can give better health care. Finishing up the week, I had this OFW worker. The Philippines has a project that they have launched to help their overseas workers to get back into the country. And so here's my first opportunity to bring one of those overseas workers. And I remember when I landed in her little place to drop her off, she was so excited to get home. She kept saying, "Wow, thank you, Cap. Wow, thank you. Wow." So I had to ask her, when was the last time you were in the Philippines? She said 3 years ago. 3 years ago, she left the Philippines to go overseas and work. And now with the COVID, they're trying to get back home. So it was a blessing. And whenever you see this kind of in Philippines, they call it maleta. Whenever you see this kind of luggage, this person is definitely coming from outside of the country. So I dropped her off on one of my flights when I was heading to get some patients. You can't see the patient. This is just the assistant to the patient. The patient is inside. I didn't get to take a picture because he is not able to walk. So I remember I had to go in there and pretty much lift him out, picked him up in my arms, and put him on the stretcher so that the ambulance can take him to the hospital. So there are times when I don't have the luxury to take a photo that I would have wanted because I have a responsibility to help these people in whatever way I can, even if that means picking them up myself to put them in the ambulance. After that, this request came in earlier, but due to paperwork and time and weather, I was not able to help them. It's an actor. Somehow he got injured with, I think they said bamboo might have hit him in the eye or something, and it needs more medical attention. And the area that he is from cannot help him with that, help with the medical attention that he needs. So I was able to take him, and based on how close he was to this lady, it seems like that's his wife. Don't quote me on that, but she's the watcher, and just she had a wedding band, and they were kind of close. Usually, relatives are not that close with each other, male female thing. So I'm assuming that's his wife. The good thing was I flew them right back at base because they need to go to a particular hospital that can help with their medical fees. So the government worker that I work with, she's the president for the AGTA, or these special indigenous people who are financially challenged. So she asked me to take the patient to the air base, and she will arrange for an ambulance to come and pick them up. When I landed, however, the ambulance was far out, not sure what time they will come. And so I did the inevitable. I put the airplane in the hangar and I jumped into my Nissan Patrol that's provided specifically for ministry. I actually drove them to the hospital myself. It was a 25, 30-minute drive. I took them to the hospital, and while they're exiting, I just jumped out real quick and took a picture. And she was there to, meet them, greet them, and she will facilitate their time in the hospital with their medical bills and whatever else they need. And when they're finished, they will definitely be tagging along back with a flight to get back home. So it was a blessing to go from flying, then jumped in the patrol so that, the ministry can keep flowing. And it's a humbling job. You go far and beyond. And I'm glad I don't have a paycheck to restrain what I can do. But as a missionary pilot volunteering, there's just everything I can do. I try to do it, and I'm willing to do whatever I can to help people. While I was coming back from the hospital, I got a call. So I just flew from that island, part of the island, dropped that patient off, and drove them to the hospital, dropped them off on my way back, like Less by the time I made a U-turn at the hospital entrance to get back to base, my phone rang. Pastor Milky called me up telling me a medical emergency, baby having seizure, doctors are worried, they're not sure what's gonna happen. And I remember last year, December, I lost one of my classmates, died from seizure, and it's an infant. So I'm thinking, you know what? If an adult did not have much of a fighting chance with seizure, how much more this little baby? The only problem is the weather is not the best. It's deteriorating real fast. So I called back base. I asked them put some fuel in the airplane, and I put on my flasher, turn on my light, and I'm a Jamaican driver. I drove that. I came to a checkpoint that slowed me down, and I was giving them all my IDs, everything. I said, hey, there's a medical flight. Time is critical. Gotta go. That's why I have my flasher on. Gotta go. Gotta go. So praise the Lord, they didn't hold me too long asking a bunch of questions. They just allowed me through the checkpoint after presenting my documents. And I jumped in the airplane, and this was what I was dealing with. My regular route would go through this thunderstorm, but I know better. I could see lightning flashing in the distance. I said, Lord, I'm not flying into that today. No. But I'm thinking, okay, why not try and go around it? I don't know how far it goes, but everything to my left side was really clear and nice. So I figured, okay, climb as high as you can. So I went up to 5,500 feet, giving myself enough altitude. And then I stayed about 10 or so nautical miles away from this thunderstorm. So I'm not affected by it. And I stayed in the clear VFR area, visual flight rules area. And I'm like, okay, keep going, keep going, keep going. Man, how far is this? Then finally, when I turned, I looked, and behold, nice gap opened up where solid VFR. I can see the mountainous terrain, the gap that I need to go through, and so on. And as I'm flying, I'm praying, Lord, I'm not here because I want to. I'm not a weather chaser kind of guy. I like to play it safe, but there's a family waiting, hoping that I can evacuate their baby and them to the hospital. I said, Lord, if you don't open this weather, I cannot help this family. I said, I'm doing my part. I could have stayed on the ground and assume what's going on up here, but I decided to take off, go take a closer look, looking for that gap, praying and hoping. And guess what? Look at that, guys. When I made that turn and I went around that thing, straight out here, that's where I'm heading. Beautiful. It doesn't look beautiful, but from a pilot's perspective, looking at another area that had like this kind of monster in it, and I could hear the thunder, and I saw multiple flashes of lightning. To when I make that turn around that system, and then I thought to myself, okay, is this going towards the airport where I need to land? Because if it's heading to the airport where I'm gonna drop them off, I'm gonna be dealing with another problem. So I said, okay, the winds are moving very slow, so the system is very slow. I just need a 30-minute window to get in and get out. And I'm praying and I'm praying and I'm flying along. And you know what, beloved friends? The weather cooperated. God gave a gap through the weather. This is mommy, daddy, and the baby. So happy and grateful. If you are a subscriber to my YouTube channel, I have a video of that landing. I have a video of me coming in on the approach and a nice little video with them saying thank you and so on. And it's days like these when, as a missionary pilot, knowing that there's a life hanging in the balance, you make decisions a little differently from when the patient is not that critical. So when it's not that critical, you analyze the weather online and you say, no, I'm not leaving the ground. Maybe they can wait until further in the afternoon or tomorrow or next 2 days, etc. But when there's a life at risk, you kind of like have more inclination to like, okay, based on based on as far as I can see, it doesn't look so bad. Okay, let me take off at least because I have weather to take off. And I will go out and like scan the area with the airplane, wondering if there's any gap. And what I did actually, because people will scrutinize me for being safe as a missionary pilot. First thing I did was I added extra fuel. It's a 1 hour flight round trip to pick them up and drop them off. I had 5 hours of fuel. So I knew I have a lot of fuel to go to various alternates if I have to try and deviate maybe 50 miles around this thing if I have to. I had the fuel to go check it out, stay away from the messy, crazy stuff, and basically help these people. Coming in on the approach, you won't see that in the video because the video is short. I videoed it just going forward. But yeah, tears came from my eyes, and it was like I was between crying tears of joy because I'm looking at the parent, I'm looking at the baby, and I'm looking at the weather. And just to see how God opened up that gap in the weather and allowed me to successfully do the mission, I had tears of joy in my heart, knowing that I took the risk by going out, looking what's happening, prayerfully asking God to give me an open window, and He did. So I'm that tears of joy saying, Lord, you answered my prayers, you opened up the weather, and I was able to successfully get the mission done. I couldn't go home, unfortunately, because the airport was already closed. They just waited for me to land, so I ended up being stranded at a hotel again overnight, which I never like to because I don't sleep as well. I don't have the best meal set up. But I just realized as a missionary pilot that sometimes ministry will take you out of your comfort zone where you have to forget about yourself and your own personal comfort and reach out to help other people. So even though I miss my own warm bed and the comforts of my home and nice meal, etc., knowing why I was in that hotel and why I can't go home and why I was out there flying, going around weather in the first place was to help other individuals. And that was a huge blessing for me to be able to be of help to them. I buttoned down the airplane and pretty much I just went to rest. This is my app again that continues to help me to be situationally aware. I create these waypoints so that as I navigate, if anything, I can always know where I am and what's happening. The next day, I think yesterday, Friday, I topped off the week with this elderly lady that's trying to get back home. I don't know if she's a returning patient or well, I didn't get much info about her. But on my way to pick up a patient, I helped her out. And what happened was the night before, Thursday night, I got a call, a text message rather, saying that someone met in an accident. Again, patient is pretty critical, needing to be evacuated ASAP. So on my way there, I picked up that senior lady and took her to her destination. Then I had two more patients coming out and one watcher here, and you can't see the critical patient because he's not able to walk, and he's that little young face there sitting inside the airplane. um, so an ambulance didn't show up immediately, and I remember he tried to limp with me assisting him on the left, but that was not proven to be much of help. So I just had him hold his dextrose as high as he could, and I picked up this young lad into my arms and I took him over to the tent and then connected his dextrose or IV to the roof of the little tent ceiling so that he can continue to get that nutrients he needs from that. Again, we continue to get tips. Here's a nice tip that I got: nice bananas. It's hard for me to find nice bananas here in the market where I live. So whenever I go to Palanan, Pastor Melke, he blesses me with bananas that I can take home to share with the rest of the missionaries and their family here at base. So this week was a remarkable week. Multiple medevacs came up. I helped approximately 8 patients this week. I had 10 assistants or watchers, 19 passengers, stranded family members. It was 19 of them this week. six of which were frontliners. I took home four returning patients, and basically cargo is about 30 pounds. I burned 178 gallons of fuel, and I was flying 16 hours and 40 minutes this week. If you are not yet a subscriber to my YouTube channel, here's the video and here's the title. This flight helped to save an infant's life. Gap in the weather. So it's a nice little video of the landing and a little thank you video that the family members did. We continue to solicit your prayers and your support. If you like what we are doing in helping people to have a fighting chance, you know, some of the feedbacks I get from various groups where I share my day-to-day activities is that they said, you know, we're in this COVID pandemic. They watch the news. It's so depressing. And it's such a blessing to come home from that depressing COVID world pandemic. And I watch your videos. I read your post, and it gives me something to smile about, to see that there is still good happening in this world. Some of these, most of them are pilots. They call me rock star. You know, they're like, man, we need more heroes like you. Man, you're a rock star. You know, but I'm just a simple individual, just doing all that I can to help others, you know, and letting them know that in spite of how depressing things are, they have an opportunity to have a ray of hope. So without your support, and, you know, I put these videos together because it's just my way of letting you know where your donation go, where your prayers go, where your support go, where your encouragement goes. This is where it goes. It goes towards helping personal needs. It helps the aircraft needs. The latest on it is the G5 electronic flight instruments. I'll do a video about that specifically. We haven't received any donations yet towards that, but as you know, we continue to pray and ask God to touch hearts to give to the work. We got some donations this week from local Filipinos. So even though this is for the online option, if you are in the Philippines and you like what we do, all you have to do, you can go over to my website, or you can find me on Facebook, like you type in my name, or Flying by Faith. There's a Facebook page now. You can message me through that. I can get my info to you, and you can use whatever money option, like Padala, Palawan Express, M. Louis, or Western Union, whatever option works best for you. Because, you know, I was feeling bad that, yeah, most of our donation comes from outside the Philippines. But just this week, I've gotten 4 donations from persons in the Philippines. They feel like it's not much, but I'm always assuring them that your little goes a long way. Because like yesterday, I picked up one from M. Louis from a lady who was once she was one of the stranded family members that I transported with her baby. And she's Adventist. And she said, you know, I can't go out there and do missionary work, but I like what you're doing. And I think if I can give a little now and then, that it will be a blessing to you and the ministry. And she sent me a little donation, and she felt like it's not much, but I told her that I can use that small donation you send, and I can help to save at least one life, guarantee. So go over to my website, By His Stripes Ministries 1844, and there's plenty of options there of how you can donate online. If you need tax deductible receipts, we have that option as well. Just send me an email and I can inform you as it relates to where you can get your tax deductible receipt option. Some beautiful things. One particular thing that happened this week. Remember last episode, I was telling you that someone contacted me. I'm not sure if it's a scam, and I don't know what's going on because the person did not introduce themselves. The person followed up with more emails. I emailed them, they emailed me, and finally we were able to call each other on WhatsApp. And you know, I had stuff running all over my body when I was talking to this person, and I'll tell you why. He's from the UK, lived in Switzerland at one point. Now he's in he's in a Caribbean island. Won't tell you which one. And I'm not gonna give you the name as well, because I always protect the identity of those who contact me. So anyways, I'm talking to him. He's in some Caribbean island, and he said, you know what? I actually went online and I was searching for medical missionary in the Caribbean when your website showed up as one of the results. I was like, wow, when I make videos and posts and stuff, I will put certain keywords in it so that if people search for certain things, then I will show up as an option. And he said he actually even, I think he said he was also searching for like missionary pilot, whatever, and he found my website. So we're conversing only to find out he's an Adventist. He's a Seventh-day Adventist. And he said, I want to send a donation to your ministry. So now we're working on what's the best way for him to send a donation that's convenient for him and won't cause too much transaction fee. But for me, it wasn't about his willingness to send a donation. The joy for me was people are out there searching for things, and it motivates me now to keep putting certain tags and use certain keywords. When I put articles, when I make a YouTube video, I put certain words there because here's one person saying, I found your website because I'm looking for something specific. And lo and behold, I was able to share with him a little about who I am and what I do. And so we hope that, that will continue to just lead us to the right people. So this week was an amazing experience. Coming up next episode, I already have some doctors. There's some requests for doctors who wants to be transported. There's pending patients. There's some just finishing up their treatments to go back home. So every week, you all know already, every week is gonna be exciting. I'm always excited because I see where God continues to provide. He opens up weather, he opens hearts to give financially, and he just continues to bless with more and more experience here. So again, on behalf of Philippines Adventist Medical Aviation Services, we want to take the time out to tell you so much thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your encouragement, your text messages, your emails. Don't stop sending in those. The songwriter says, don't scatter roses after I'm gone. Give them to me now while I carry on. So whenever you reach out to us to let us know how the videos inspire you, whenever you reach out with a donation, we continue to ask you to be grateful that God is answering your prayers and he's multiplying your gifts in helping to reach others. One more thing I want to share with you guys here, if I can find the picture real quick. I'm having some challenges. Yes, I'm having some challenges, and I've been sending out some prayer requests. Basically, I don't know if it's because I'm flying too much or what, but so because I have to wear a shade sometimes. The plane inside the plane is so bright, I need a shades. I have to wear a mask when I have patients, and my headset now is dealing with a mask, a shade, and the headset was already a little tight. So now I found out recently my ear temple here in this area, it's really painful after each flight. And so some blessings here. The headset itself is giving me some challenge. It's like a 3-year-old headset. It wasn't the most expensive. Someone bought it for me. I'm very grateful, but it's doing its time. Now it's contributing to headache. Now I have to deal with a mask and shade. And yeah, sometimes I'm come home, I'm just hurting in a lot of pain, especially around this area. So I continue to ask for prayers for that. In my post on my Facebook, I was saying, I'm not in the mood to really venture out on another fundraiser. Headsets are not cheap at all. So I was trying to find another cheaper fix to deal with it, like maybe use a regular computer headset and try to connect the cables. So I put that out in one channel that I'm in one Facebook group that I am a member of. And they were saying, no, that's not going to work. Some say it will work, some say it won't work. So I don't know, but the summary is it won't. In the midst of that, just asking for a review or recommendation on what are my cheapest option, there were multiple individuals saying, we appreciate what you do. You're out there as a missionary pilot helping to save lives. Send me an address and I will send you a headset. One person said, I got this one, I haven't used it. Give me an address and I will send you. The only challenge, and I messaged him, I said, it's not my intention to be soliciting anything from you guys because I respect the values of the group. And they were saying, no, 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 we want to give you a headset. So God has provided a replacement headset. Now I just have to figure out how to get it to the Philippines because shipping something like that costs an arm and a leg. And I remember one person saying the price for shipping is not even worth the value of the headset itself. So I'm praying and hoping that maybe someone is coming to the Philippines soon and they could bring that headset for me. I don't know, but we'll see. And that will definitely be in my next report. Whenever I get it, then I will put that in my report. So, God has been blessing in so many ways. He continues to use me and this little airplane and our ministry to be a source of blessing and comfort to people, especially during these times. So once again, on behalf of Philippines Adventist Medical Aviation Services, we continue to do the work and we just miraculously watch God provide the means. He's providing through you, through your prayers, your personal support, and we know and have the assurance that you and your family will be blessed as a result of supporting his cause. God bless. Mabuhay from the Philippines, and see you for episode 13.